Transportation Advisory Committee of the Sunshine Coast Regional District, and acknowledge that the SCRD is within the traditional territories of the Sechelt and Squamish First Nations. We have an agenda before us, which is there anybody wishing to make any changes, additions, subtractions to the agenda? I'm not seeing any excitement out there. I see a hand go up. Director Pratt?
I mean, you met me. We can actually take off the red roofs concerns. I've met directly with some residents and with our and with Michael Braun, and so we're just dealing with those in that area. So take that off the agenda.
Okay, good to hear. Nice to get shorter. We usually do a round of introducing each other. I'm gonna just, because of the awkwardness of doing that in this setting, what I'm gonna suggest is that everybody go in, including me, I just realized, if you mouse over your picture on Zoom, you will get a blue ... button and you can rename yourself. And if you just put in after your name who you're representing here, that will help everybody to remember who we all are. So that's great. So I'm going to get started. We've done the agenda. The first thing is the minutes. We have the Transportation Advisory Committee minutes of January 16th, 2020. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, subtractions? Can I see a motion to receive, approve the minutes? I see a motion. I see a seconder. All in favor? Okay, minutes approved. Any business arising or unfinished business from the minutes? Not seeing any excitement. This is a reminder. If you want to speak, it really helps to use the raise hand button. That's interesting. My raise hand button seems to be missing, but that's probably because I'm the host and I can just do what I want. So, not Director Seegers.
Thank you. Recommendation number 2. I don't know if any were given what happened shortly after the last meeting, where basically nobody was taking the ferry, and so we didn't need park and ride. If any work has been done on that, so I think we should just flag that, because going forward, that is something that we'll need to have a look at anyway. I know primarily it was because there was going to be renovations done at the Langdale terminal. Those have now been pushed back, so I don't know how critical it is to do this, but it's something that we probably want to have a conversation and either move it forward or say, no, it's off the table.
Can we, all right. Staff, was anything done on that file?
Thank you for the question. And there was not a lot of work done on the file to date. And yeah, I'll leave it there.
Okay. I'm wondering if we should not refer this forward to ourselves in another 6 months to see where things are at, because we don't know where anything's at right now. It's very difficult. Can we refer that to an agenda that would be, is it January agenda? Okay, motion, I see a seconder. All in favor? Okay, let's do that. Any other business arising? Not seeing any. Okay, let us go straight to reports. I'd like a motion to receive all of the reports and communication. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Yay, we've got it done. Okay, I'm just going to mention, we have a lot of things on the agenda here. and we'll try to move forward expeditiously today, but still hit anything important that people want to talk about. So, transit schedule options. Does staff want to say anything about that?
Thank you, Chair. This report is on the agenda as it was part of the Infrastructure Services Committee agenda of this morning. It presents an overview of what the financial status is of the transit service at this point in time, and provided some options for the board to consider in terms of the fall schedule. What I will do is I will make sure that BC Transit was part of the meeting this morning as well. And they provided a presentation also in terms of COVID measures, etc., etc. And I will ensure that that presentation will be distributed to the committee members as well, just as a piece of information, because I think it matches this report to a certain degree. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions from committee members on the report.
And I would add that the report from BC Transit was very interesting in terms of the impact on transit, not just the number of riders, but the pattern of usage of our transit system. Director Seegers.
Yeah, probably just a note then is the recommendations as presented on page 6 are what was actually passed by committee this morning.
After a very interesting discussion, it wasn't an easy decision. Let's put it that way. Director Hiltz.
Thank you. My question is the information sharing between BC Transit and MOTI. Is there something that happens there, or is it ad hoc, or is it necessary, or is it done?
Thank you for the question. Are you referring to a specific component of information?
Well, I think it just generally, does MOTI know that buses run in the kind of schedule, and does that coordination of that public transit service and the highways that they run on, do they are they only in their silos, or do they talk to each other?
Thank you for the question. I can have our manager of transit fleet talk to that as well. But there's good collaboration on an operational level here on the Southern Coast. If there are work being done on the highways, if there are accidents, if there's anything, there is communication at that level, especially also during winter months when we are having difficult conditions with due to the weather. But there is no real at a higher level between, it's more SRD staff and MOTI staff, not really at BC Transit versus MOTI.
Good, thank you. I don't see any further hands up on this item. So just as a recap, we will be moving to 80% of regular service until the end of the year. And what the heck is going to happen is anybody's guess right now. Item number 4 on our agenda is the update on youth transit pilot program that just got COVIDed out of the water. Over to staff.
Thank you. You stole my thunder there. For those who don't know, in January we discussed as part of the agenda the youth transit pilot, which was then just initiated. Ultimately, it was approved by the board. Funding approval was provided by the board, and in late March, the SCD board had to do some reductions in their budget to adjust to the new reality of COVID, and as a result, they deferred this project to 2021. So, as part of the budget process for 2021, we'll bring this forward. As staff, we will bring this budget proposal forward again for reconsideration by the board.
Okay, still seeing no hands up. And I think we can move on to item number 5. And 6. That's Annex C and D, which is let's see. C is my my thing is not working terribly well, but if you go to page 14, you can see our transit ridership just fall off the cliff there. And we had an update this morning in which you can, it's starting to come back, but it's still way, way down from normal. And of course, the fare revenue also, underwater. Anything on the fare revenue items? Okay, then in that case, the next item is Annex D from Track. Track, would you like to give a update?
Yeah, that sounds good. I talked before about maybe sharing my screen, so I'll try and do that now.
Okay.
So let me know when it starts coming through.
We can see it.
Okay, great. So we just have a couple, hopefully short updates. The first one is we met with Modi a while back to review the active transportation infrastructure to see if there was any opportunities to make any improvements. And one of the things that came up was the Community Safety Enhancement Program. It was a 2010 UBCM project where Modi gets funding for safety projects, and they do that in consultation with local governments and law enforcement. And that's one of the ways that our highways have been improved over the past little while. And so it got us thinking about how the sort of important projects are managed on the Sunshine Coast. And we were just curious. And so we put a survey out to our membership and we put it in the paper. And it was basically looking at, asking people what we pre-selected a number of projects and we asked for their comments in general. We got 196 respondents, which is not fully representative of the Sunshine Coast, but it's a bunch of people, and they weren't all necessarily members of our association. And so the big themes were people are always asking for more clearing of debris. They're always asking for better paving. So we've had pavement improvements where the widening is sort of tacked onto the edge, which I think is done because it's much cheaper, but it ends up being much bumpier. Better marking, dedicated bike lane, of course, and then always our favorite is separated bike lanes. So one of the other things we looked at was just projects by area. And it was interesting for me to see what, when you get a whole bunch of people voting on something, you sort of see what people think are the most important things. So I broke that down into areas here. And, I'll just talk about the top one or maybe the top one or two in each of the groups in each of the areas. So Marine Drive between Town of Gibsons and Langdale Ferry always comes up as just a high priority for people. Reed Road, we mistakenly didn't include, and people commented like crazy about it. So there was a lot of comments saying Reed Road's a problem. As all of you are aware, I'm sure that crossing Highway 1 and 101 and Ocean View Drive is just so important to the community. We proposed an improvement between Highway 101 or on Highway 101 between Pratt and Ocean View Drive to make a multi-use path there, and that was pretty popular. And then I guess probably not surprising to me, but The eastbound lane on near Selma Park on Highway 101 leaving Seashelt is just a huge priority, a sort of pretty dangerous area. Anyway, I bring this up mostly because I know that the SCRD board is in discussions with Modi about current projects and Modi higher ups, and just want to get this into your thought process around how that discussion, how that discussion takes place. So our next steps are to make a little bit more of a formal report to you, hopefully a short formal report that sort of lists out what the areas are and why we think they're important. And then we'll also be requesting a meeting with Modi to review that. So that's a short update on the survey we did, and hopefully some of these ideas can go into further discussions with Modi. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. Otherwise, I'll. Mark.
Yeah, a question about the Marine Drive piece. You're talking about beyond the Chuckwelp Reserve lands, which is SCRD, which is that the section that you're talking about?
Yeah, I wasn't being awfully careful about jurisdiction. Okay. I also put Reed Road in there.
And this is mostly about the bike lanes and is anything this to do with the proposal, the aspirational aspect of having a pedestrian bike multimodal wider shoulder along that section? Is that related to this?
Yeah, that is related to this. Mostly it was about, we were just asking which areas do you feel are dangerous and which areas do need improvement. We spoke a little bit to what do you think we should, what we think should be done. And we thought, more bike lanes, but more it was about where do you feel unsafe on the Sunshine Coast. And it was born out of the discussion about a safety, sorry, it was born out of the discussion around a community safety and enhancement program, which does fund safety concerns. And there, in that section of road, if you've ever ridden it on your bike, its safety concern is most of what you're thinking about. So yeah.
Okay, I think you can keep going.
Okay. We've been in.
Sorry, I did have a question about what you've gone through so far.
Okay.
Sorry, maybe you can't see me on there. You mentioned Highway 101.
Yeah.
Yeah. On eastbound lane from Selma Park to Radcliffe Road. Well, the highway is parallel to Radcliffe, so I'm confused.
Radcliffe comes around the corner there at the top, but so just basically if you're leaving Seashelt and you've gone past Selma Park Road,
yep,
and you're going towards Gibson's, the right-hand side of the road, up that hill, is.
I mean, where the driveways and things are and all that kind of stuff, that piece.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's definitely complicated, but definitely scary as a cyclist, because you're down to, like 1.5 feet, and you're going uphill. So it's, you're wobbly and you're going up and there's two trucks passing each other and.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get where you're going. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So we've been in contact with Go by Bike BC, and we're still planning to have some kind of active transportation event somewhere end of September, early October, which is when the Go by Bike event is happening. And so we probably coordinate with that. And so at this point, we're really just maybe, promotion of active transportation and biking, and potentially holding some physically distanced rides. And then we're also looking for ideas and partners. So if anybody has any great ideas about things that can be done in this crazy time, we're all ears. Next item was knotweed. So I raised this every couple of years at the TAC, and so it was time. Basically, on a number of our roads, we have knotweed growing, and it grows completely over the bike lane, so that cyclists need to leave the bike lane and go into the highway. And it seems like it grows in the worst possible spot. So it's after a blind corner or whatever. And I know that it's complicated to remove knotweed, but it seems like we're just waiting for a problem to happen. So I guess I was hoping for an update on, because it seems like the provincial and local plan for how to deal with knotweed changes each season. I'm curious what our plans are this season for knotweed and how something like this can start going away.
I've got something to add here. Apparently, the new development on Largo is they brought in fill, and it's full of knotweed. So there's a lot of knotweed growing there, and I'm wondering whether this is a Moti problem now, or whether this is a developer problem, considering they're still quite involved.
Yeah, so I'll talk to that. The treatment of knotweed or noxious weeds or invasive species on the coast is kind of developed through our invasive plant kind of group out of headquarters for MOTI. Each year through our Report of Weeds app, locations are identified as well as on-site locations from inspections are identified, and those are all put in a list for treatment priorities. Everything that we can treat, especially on Highway 101, is definitely a priority. There's locations that we cannot treat due to issues with water or groundwater that we can't treat due to contamination issues. So we've done the project where we've dewatered some areas and we'll begin treating those. There are areas that if they are a hazard, then the maintenance contractor will go out and trim and remove those, obviously leading to probably further spread, but we're definitely trying to address those. In terms of Largo Road, if the fill was from private property or on private property, there's not any jurisdiction from MOTI to address that the subdivision is complete in terms of the paperwork and all of that. So it'll be something we'll have to monitor. If it's on private property, then that will have to be addressed by them.
Thank you. I see that Director Crowell's hand is up.
Thank you, Chair. Through our correspondence in Gibson's, we were approached by someone, asking Gibson's to, with respect to repaving projects we've had or have in the works, to look at bike lane marking and that. And this individual, when she approached Modi, was advised that things would be moving forward, be status quo. And I was basically asked to bring it up again at this committee, what we can do, working through the committee and Moti and the town of Gibson's and the district of Sechelt, where there are roads that are under their jurisdiction, what we might do to get a little more leverage to encourage biking and bike lanes and make them safe.
Alan?
So I'm definitely interested in the conversation David has introduced. But before we leave the knotweed discussion, I'm just curious if Colin can let me know. I don't see that any of the knotweed on our highway has been dealt with. Are we in all water state? Is that why they're not being dealt with? And if they are in that state, is there some other mechanism we can put in place?
Yeah, so basically anything on the highway that's still remaining is close to a water source, except maybe a couple spots. That's really what our limiting factor is at the moment. We've been trying to get approval to use some additional chemical treatments, but we're waiting on approval from Environment Canada. In the meantime, I'm not sure. It's just kind of, we'll have to keep trimming at the moment unless we can treat them another way, but nothing we've really been able to move forward with at this time.
Okay, so I understand it hasn't been trimmed yet. So is that something that's planned?
Yeah, definitely. If you wanna, if there's anything specific, well, you know, shoot me an email or shoot Capilano an email and we'll take care of it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, Alan.
Okay, so to pick up David's point from before, we Highway 101 is being repaved sometime over in the somewhat short term, and we engaged in discussions with them and were basically informed that the highway repaving is not a capital project, so they don't make any changes to the existing engineering. So that was unfortunate. It seems like it's a lot of heavy lifting not to consider any improvements. But they did mention that they're planning to do a bunch of shoulder widening between Stewart and Reed Road, so that was good news. And on the bad news side, they're not planning to repaint the bike stencils that exist in Gibson, so that was too bad. But it did seem like there was an opportunity for a bike lane on North Road coming between Reed Road and Gibson's Way, but it's going to require some reduction in parking along there that would need to be endorsed by the town of Gibson. So I guess that's a question for David, if that's something that could be supported or not.
We'll take that back to council.
Okay. That's all I had.
I was just curious, Alan, how did you hear that the highway is being repaved? Because I had not heard that.
I think we heard it initially from David Newman. He'd been contacted by Modi.
Colin, could you tell us more about this repaving?
Yeah, so there is a pavement project from basically a resurfacing, so milling out the existing and replacing the current lanes. So from Stewart Way all the way past Pratt Road in Gibsons, and that will be starting in the next, well, equipment has been mobilized to the coast as of yesterday and today, and could be starting within the next week. We did talk with the SCRD staff and the town of Gibson staff about trying to get some of projects completed, like water mains and things that they had on the books. And that was discussed quite a while ago.
Thank you. I see Director McLean.
Yeah, thank you. So you mentioned the upcoming projects. I think when we met with the Minister of Transportation at UBCM last year, there was some discussion about that collaboration and being informed. So it looks like it happened at a staff level. I'd like to see more information get out there at a public level, at elected officials level, so we kind of know what to expect. when it comes to Modi transportation projects in the next year or so. So I just hopefully we can keep that communication going and further strengthen it based on what you've done already.
Good. Thank you. Alan, if you've finished the presentation, perhaps you could, aha, yay. We're back again. This is better, I can see better. Hi, everyone. All right. Back to the agenda. I don't see any hands up at the moment. We are at, oh, our favorite topic after roads is ferries. Over to Diana. You're still muted.
There, that's better. I'm trying to find my report again because I had it, and then when we changed screens, I lost it. So basically, the ferries are struggling significantly, continue to do so, but the Route 3 is doing better than the other majors, and with a lot of advocacy from local governments, from the Ferry Advisory, chambers of commerce, etc., we've managed to get more sailings put back in. And so we are at 8 most days, 9 a couple of days, which will make a difference. The reason that there are not going to be any more than that, or it would be pretty hard for them to do, is that their usual summer hire time was right at the height of COVID. And so all of those people were not hired, and they do not have the staff with which to service the any extra ferries. My report, I tried to show you some more details about ferries, because it seems that whenever people are complaining, they're complaining about BC Ferries not providing the service. And BC Ferries has either put on hold indefinitely, and that would be the terminal upgrade at Langdale, the purchase of new ships, that where we were to get a second ship is on a 5-year hold. And they are basically burning through their capital plan budget currently to do the day-to-day expenditures because of the drop in revenue. And so that has made it really challenging for them. And so they're doing the best they can, but they can't add any sailings unless they pay for them themselves. So they have to be over 50%. And I put in one of the months of the traffic report. I think I put in April. And you can see how every single route across the board on the coastal ferry system bombed. And they're starting to come back, but it's going to be a long haul. And at this point, BC Ferries has received, I would say, almost nothing in support from either a provincial or federal level. So they are managing on their own. They do not qualify for some of the support systems that the feds have been offering. There was $180,000 that went from the provincial government to BC Ferries to retain some discretionary sailings, but those discretionary sailings were not on Route 3. So the finances are huge, similar to any of our transportation services throughout the province, I'm sure, with Transit and TransLink and BC Ferries. And to this date, there haven't been a lot of federal or provincial entities jumping up to help support that. So I wanted to make sure that people knew that. I think my report speaks for itself. I tried to give as much background as I could so that people understand what BC Ferries is and why they are where they are.
get to unmute myself too. Are there questions on ferries? It's amazing. 6 weeks ago, people were complaining there were too many ferries, and now they're back complaining that there's not enough ferries. So there we go.
I have to give credit to BC Ferries. They are trying as hard as they can to service their customers with what they have. And so I think they have heard what we've said from the coast, and we have seen some fairly quick action. So I appreciate that. And I think we all do, because we need those ferries, and our numbers are definitely jumping back up faster than other routes.
Director Seegers?
Here. I know that it is mandatory to take a mask with you when you go onto the ferry. Have they started up the other services? Like, is there food services? You know, any of those kinds of things? Those have started up already? I don't know. I haven't been on the ferry.
I think BC Ferries is on here, but we, from what I've heard, that they are starting up some of their catering services. Obviously not all of them, but there are some of them coming back, which does add some more revenue for them. But it's takeout, basically. You take it either back to your vehicle, or you can sit. I think there's limited seating upstairs.
Okay, is BC Ferries on here?
Yeah, I'm on here. I don't know if you can unmute me or not, or.
Yeah, we can hear you. So.
Oh, perfect.
Comment?
Yeah, no, Diane's pretty accurate in everything she said there, and yeah, there is food service now. Like you said, it's kind of take and go. It's there is like hot catered food now, but yeah, rather than a tray, you basically get a brown bag, and there is seating again as well, and socially distanced and all cordoned off and whatnot.
Are we going to be able to shop again soon?
I haven't heard anything on that one. I highly doubt it.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I think one of the challenges, or there's two challenges that we've had come up. One of them is the priority boarding for residents, and that seems to be a very hot topic within the communities. People seem to feel that if they are a resident and they say that they are a resident, then they go to the front of the line. The challenge is a number of them, they're not asking for ID. So everybody is saying they are residents, and those lineups are just as long as ever. And terminals such as Horseshoe Bay does not have the space to be able to separate them very well. So I know that it's become a very significant frustration for BC Ferry staff to try to deal with the very irate people that are trying to move people around. I was coming back to the coast, and I had my grandkids, said I was resident, but I still waited quite a lengthy period of time. So it doesn't resolve that issue at all. The other one is there was an issue, I believe, a week and a half ago on the cut going out of Langdale up the hill. Traffic was backing all the way up the hill, and people working at the mill were not able to get through. I've talked to BC Ferries about that. They are now opening their gates earlier in the morning to try to relieve that traffic. They can't do anything outside of their ferry site, their terminal site. So if there was an opportunity for better signage on that road to direct those lining up for the ferry to the right-hand side, and the going through traffic, or like to the mill, or to drop off passengers, take the left. I think there is some signage, but let's face it, lots of people just don't bother to read the signs or think it doesn't count for them.
Yeah, if I may comment on both those comments there. So number one, the resident versus non-resident thing. So yeah, as you guys know, we're not an enforcement agency, so we're going off honor system, and obviously some people are not being completely honest with us. I did ask my boss, Doug Hanning, about that, if we could get into that, but the thought is that it would create even longer lines with the throughput going up, and also put our employees in more of a potential for conflict. So for now, that's the system. It's not perfect. We do ask people if they're unclear, if they're traveling to and from your home. So basically, if you're a resident of either side, I guess that's good enough. So to be honest, it's a little vague for my liking, but that's the system we have in place right now. So an example right now in Horseshoe Bay, there's a 3-setting wait right now for non-residents. So we don't get hit on this side too bad in Langdale, because most people coming here out of the region will go through Horseshoe Bay first. And I think by then they kind of understand the system, and they're probably self-identifying as residents. So it's a much bigger issue for Horseshoe Bay, but obviously it's an issue for all of us that rely on the ferry. And two, yeah, the Monday in question there was a bit of a gong show. They did have staff that were supposed to start at 4:45. There was a no-show. But now for the rest of the summer, on Mondays and Tuesdays after long weekends, we have them all booked and ready to go at 4:30 or 4:45, I believe. So that shouldn't be an issue again.
I just back quickly to the priority boarding. The other challenge is as a Sunshine Coast, we want our businesses to get back up and running. And I'm quite sure Paul Kamen will say they want to get tourists over here. And if we want to do that, if people are sitting in that 3 sailing wait to get over to the coast, it's going to be turning them away. And so are we really giving any advantage to our community, to our businesses, if we're pushing them into very long lineups? So that is a huge concern for me personally, because I want to see all of our businesses succeed and to thrive and to get back up, get going again. I know there is some discussion going on to see if there's some way to change that priority boarding so it isn't for all residents, but that's still in discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that people that are coming here and planning it will make a reservation, but obviously the reservation system is quite full this time of year. So the only thing I can say to that is, Bonner Henry said phase 3, you should be checking with the communities that you're going to, and maybe that's part of that, and understanding that ferry system and that you're going to be backed up. But like I said, we haven't been hit too bad on this side, but I know Horseshoe Bay is definitely under a lot of duress these days.
Good, thank you. I see Director Paul, is this now?
Thank you, Chair. Diana sort of alluded to it. One of the areas where people have been commenting to me, and it's the business community who, go in on the first boat, they're trying to get back with supplies for their business, and they get caught in the lineups. And so if the tourists arrive and go into the business, it doesn't do the business any good, because the stuff that should be on the shelf or them able to serve, they can't do it because they're sitting in a ferry lineup. So if there was a way to ensure that the business community at least could get on the boats, it would be beneficial.
Yeah, I did have someone reach out to me that has a business on this side, similar situation, and I put them in touch with customer relations to see if they qualify as essential. It was one of the local tow truck companies. So, but I mean, it might be case by case. I know essential was kind of a broad term, but basically the order of loading is obviously reservations first, and then essential workers and goods, and then the residents, and then the non-residents. So that's the current state of affairs.
Thank you. Director Pratt, your hand is up.
Thank you, Chair McMahon. Just want to comment regarding the signage on the bypass, because after we had this issue on that one Monday, I happened to have to drive a kid down to and drop her off at the ferry, so I took note. We have one small sign about like that just before the turn on the bypass that says ferry traffic keep right. And then there's another one about 100 yards down the hill that says ferry traffic keep right. And that's an awfully long stretch of road to only have those. So I'm wondering, seeing as we have Michael and Colin here from MOTI, is it possible to get more signage on that bypass regarding the ferry traffic staying right? Even during the summer, even maybe getting Capilano or getting one of those electronic signs just reminding to stay right. Whose responsibility does that fall under?
Over to Modi.
Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button on this thing. Yeah, short answer is I'm not sure who's responsible for the ferry signs. I don't know, Colin, in your experience on the coast, if you've had to deal with ferry signs before.
We've worked with BC Ferries in terms of developing the strategy on the bypass. We've definitely had options where we have used portable message signs, but it's part of usually kind of the traffic control plan that we develop with BC Ferries, so we can definitely have a discussion with them.
I would just like to reiterate, I think it's really insufficient because like I said, you have the one just before you turn right, and then you have one right after you turn right, and then there's nothing else the whole way down the hill. And the case that we had on the Monday morning, and I heard a lot of commentary from it, and there was a lot of angst. And I mean, the signs are still not as good as actually having somebody there directing or something else, but at least it's a reminder. So.
Okay, thank you. Director Crowley, are you still, your hand is still up? Okay. All right, I'm not seeing anyone else with a hand up, and I think the next item on the agenda is in fact Director Pratt about advocacy to the provincial and federal governments. Take it away.
Okay, I think we've been discussing this quite extensively at the board and council tables across the coast, and bringing it up individually with our MLA and our MP regarding more BC Ferries support. I do know that the federal government has released some funding for transportation systems. However, they're still working through the details on that, and it's still unclear whether or not BC Ferries is actually going to be eligible for any funding. And I think it's probably an opportune time to put any pressure on if we can. By the time the minutes from this meeting go to an agenda, I don't know if that's going to be timely enough, or whether or not we should take this back to individual council tables and board tables. But essentially, BC Ferries is using all of their capital, the money that's been set aside for capital is getting used for operational expenses, and they're not eligible for a lot of the federal government grants due to their funding structure with the province. So, if we want to see, it's just putting it out in another avenue. I think we all know the issues. We've all been talking and hearing about this for months. So,
okay, BC Ferries, could you use our support?
Sorry, guys, I had to step away for a second. Sorry, I missed that last part.
We're just asking about taking advocacy for BC Ferries funding with the province and the federal government.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yes, please.
Kind of thought so. All right, so we will individually take this back to our councils for action, and Director Pratt can take it to the SCRD. Yes. Okay, good. Next item on our agenda is the Ruby Lake boat launch, RCMP.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Constable Whitby, line 11, please.
Sorry about that. The timing is perfect there. Thank you all. And this was brought to my attention a few days ago. And quite frankly, from what I learned, that this issue has been going on for a number of years. And it seems that signs are not enough, and or signs are have not been clear. And essentially, for those who are not aware of what I'm talking about, these are parking complaints on Ramp Road up at Madeira Park right by Ruby Lake. And what's happening, and it's been happening for a while, like I said, is that people go up there with their trailers and they park their cars and trailers load their boat, and then leave their vehicles for a number of hours and or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And then came to our attention that the residents there have been calling and complaining and saying that, you know, not enough is being done about those vehicles. Looking at the big picture, and I myself have not been out there. However, one of my partners did go up there and take some photographs. I would like to go sometime this week, again, just to see the gravity of the situation there. But essentially, it's number one, with vehicles blocking the roadway, even though it's a gravel road. And I understand, I've got some pictures as well, where some vehicles have been blocking the road. And although there are some signs there, and I was talking to Colin yesterday as well, looking at some of the options that we have. So number one, without, hopefully I'm not jumping all over, but as far as enforcement options, we do have some options. Obviously, we always do, from the Motor Vehicle Act and or towing any cars that are impeding traffic. One of the challenges that we have is a lot of times when we do go up there and the officer calls a tow truck to get one of the vehicles removed. By the time the tow truck shows up there, that vehicle or driver would come back to the vehicle and they would move it. So time is a big issue by the time we go up there for enforcement, and by the time a tow truck shows up. So some of the things I was brainstorming and thinking, quite frankly, last night, along with the other officers, is one of the options. Even though, like I said, we have a lot of signs all around us. Do we need more signs? Perhaps from our perspective, policing, I think better, bigger, larger, clearer signs might be an option. And the other thing I'm presenting this to you guys today, see if it's an option, is some of those maybe restructuring the way that the road there. I want to get the exact writing because I wanted to make sure, or the exact wording, which is, can we utilize plastic traffic barriers? It's something I want to put forward to Moti if that's something that's an option. And in order to discourage people from parking up there. And we all know that no matter what, even though we encourage people, of course, using Ruby Lake and the ramp there and the boat launch, we just want to find a better way where we can, number one, make the residents happy. Number two, obviously we have a job to do, but at the same time, maybe even be more proactive in what we're doing. So long story short, I think it's a good start, at least to increase, enlarge, better the signage system. If I may, I know this is not going to be very conventional, but I have some pictures to show the board what I'm talking about if somebody's interested. But 1 second. Is this clear? I don't know if it's going to be clear or not. So you've got a sign, no parking. Clearly people are, I don't know if you want me to, let's see what else I have here. I've got a better one here. You can see no parking. It's been knocked down. Car parked here. And so, like I said, as far as enforcement options, we do have them. I just hope that we can do something even more proactive as far as signage to start with. And that's all I'm going to say for now, unless there's any other questions. By all means, I'll take them.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Moti first about the signage. Is that Moti signage? And do you have any thoughts on that? And then I'm going to go to our Area A director who may have some observations.
Those are Moti signs. Yeah, I mean, if you're just talking about larger no parking signs, I mean, I could look into doing that. I suspect the folks doing this don't care either way. They're just looking for a convenient place to park. Yeah, this is, as you said, this is a long-standing issue with the residents that live on Ramp Road. I've had communications with them. I've been yelled at by them, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a challenge. I wish there was an easy solution. So yeah, I have committed to one of the residents to visiting up there with them at some point this summer when I can get out that way. So hopefully I can have a better look around.
Thank you. Are traffic barriers of any sort an option in that location?
I don't know. The short answer is I don't know. We'd have to go and look closely at that. See where that may be possible while still making sure that vehicles can move through that area safely, and so that the residents can still access their homes as well. We're limited on space through there, I'm sure you know. And you know, I suggested to one resident of clearing some space to make more space, and they got upset because I was suggesting we were going to ruin some environmentally sensitive habitat. So I feel that there's a push to just get rid of the boat ramp, but I think, you know, if we can do something to ease the traffic through there, you know, we're open to ideas.
Thank you. Director Lee, you probably have the answer to problems, right?
Okay, that didn't work.
No answer. I've been up there and looked at it, and I think the only answer is to go, and then they'll quit doing it. But it's a long way from even where the tow truck is to where it needs to go. And you know, they park it, they move their boats, then they come back. You know, so you got to be pretty quick to get them, which is the problem. The only answer really is a parking lot, but we've never found a good place for a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Director Hiltz, your hand is up.
Yes. What is the jurisdiction of the ramp? Is it a road right-of-way ramp? Is it I'm not familiar with the site for a long time. Who owns it? Who has control? Who uses it?
So the road right-of-way to on-ramp road is MOTI. Their SCRD has a lease, I guess, for the ramp and dock. Is that correct, Ian?
Yes, that's how I understand it. And they put some cement in as well to make a ramp. They precast the cement, let it dry, and then put it in. It's kind of neat. Locks together, makes a good launching ramp. And the people that use it are both residents and day visitors. So you get
and I understand it's used by a number of water access only property owners on Ruby Lake as well. So there is I think there is a public duty to make sure that we have a ramp there, or at least somewhere on Ruby Lake.
Yes, it's way better there than it was in its other place, which was right on the highway.
Yeah, I remember that.
Good. This is clearly ramp month at the SCRD. Okay. I think we've beaten this to death for the moment. We are down to communications. We have
Director McMahon.
Yeah.
Is there going to be any action coming out of this? Are we going to see some additional signs or bigger signs or anything else?
I'll be honest, I don't want to commit to that yet until I think Colin and myself need to talk about it offline. And as well, maybe with the local RCMP, perhaps we can, have a separate meeting about this just to discuss how we're going to manage the rest of the summer out there.
Okay. I mean, that's an action. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a number of communications, items 12 through 18. Does anybody have any of these that they want to raise? Because otherwise we are going to go to a very brief roundtable. Any items arising from our communications? I'm not seeing it. Yes, I am. I see two hands. All right. Staff, please.
The only thing I can confirm is that we were in contact with Modi on the presentation of the corridor study to get it on this agenda. We were not able to make that date, and there's commitment to have it on the next agenda in October.
Modi, when is the famous corridor study due?
It's coming. It has to go through a number of approvals before we can meet with staff and present the findings of the study. So I appreciate everyone's anxious to see the results, and I ask for everyone's continued patience. But it's imminent. I wish I had a drop dead date, but it's got to go through the appropriate approvals process.
Okay, so we know it takes more than 9 months to gestate a corridor review. Director Ties?
Yeah, just the letter by Robin Marriott, wondering if the Sunshine Coast Highway Society should be a member, and and I'm just wondering whether we need a vote by the members here to accept it, or to say, yeah, you can just attend.
Everyone is welcome to attend. That's straightforward, but it does raise the question of, how do we define a stakeholder in terms of the committee? We have a fairly large committee as it is. Does anybody have any strong feelings on this matter one way or the other? Director Pratt.
Thank you, Chair. That was my question as well regarding that correspondence. We can adjust the terms of reference, and as I said in the email to Robin, the meetings are public, more than welcome to attend. We allow lots of public input on these meetings as well, or there's an opportunity for public input. But I think it would be the will of the committee and ultimately the SCRD board whether or not we change the terms of reference. So based on a recommendation to the board, I would look to the other committee members to how they feel.
When did we last look at our terms of reference?
Last year.
Last year?
Yeah. After we were elected in there, we did an adjustment on terms of reference of both transportation and policing and public safety.
Right. I personally do not have an appetite to change the terms of reference at this time, but would certainly look for a motion if anybody else does. Not seeing a lot of excitement out there. Okay, I'm gonna try to run us through a roundtable here. It'll be in the order that I see you on my Zoom webinar, which is exciting because every once in a while Zoom rearranges itself. So I may get confused. So please bear with me. Let's go fairly quickly. If you don't have anything to raise, just pass, okay? So, Director Kroll.
Actually, I think what I had to say, I have said. There's a couple of issues that came up that I'll take back to council, the support of BC Ferries, and also what we can do with TRAC to help with them. We've got a couple of projects afoot where we are definitely working with TRAC, so it's all's good. Thank you.
Okay, Director McLean.
I think I said my main piece, just that communication between Modi and the local governments regarding upcoming roadworks. Keep that communication going is good. And then just to tack on to Dana's report on the ferries, they've released a new report for June, and our route was down 20% from last year.
Great. Okay, Director Hiltz.
I'll just say thanks very much for the repaving project that's going between North Road and between Stewart Road and along North to Reed Road. So yeah, that's definitely going to be an asset. Thank you.
Okay, Director Ties.
Thank you, Chair. One quick question. Wondering about the Lower Road obstacle course, when that's going to be paved. And I hear it's BA Blacktop. It's their schedule. So just wondering if Moti might know what their schedule is.
Well, there's plans to actually pave the remaining of Lower Road, I believe, this weekend or next week.
Thank you, Director Seegers.
Thank you. Couple of things. Would really be appreciative if we could have proactive announcements to the community about projects that are happening on the highway. One that's happening right now that our community wasn't aware of was the paving that's happening on Highway 101 in West Sechelt. So just put it in your plan, more communication, better communication, whatever. And then to the group here, as you know, we're working on Trail Avenue in Sechelt. So that's going to be a road with separated bike paths and walking lanes. And we just got approved for funding for Wharf Avenue. So the District of Sechelt applied for funding for to provincial and federal government. We got approved for that, and then the Downtown Business Association applied to ICE-T. So we have the funding in hand to do that one block between the lights at the 101, the corner with the lights, and where it turns into downtown. So it'll be sidewalk, etc. Final design is not done, but that'll be coming soon. That's it.
Thank you. Ferry Advisory Committee.
Thank you. We're good.
Awesome. Track.
Nothing really further to report, although I am excited to see the corridor review, especially in regard to speed reductions in Woodbury Park area, etc. So looking forward to that.
Okay, Colin.
Nothing really to add from the day-to-day that we're doing right now, the resurfacing we're doing in West Sechelt, and then the current projects that's going to start next week in Gibsons.
Thank you. Director Lee.
I'd just like to thank Capilano Highways and Modi for patching all the little potholes up here. There's a fella that's been going around with a shovel and a single axle truck. And I'll tell you, of all the work we do, that they do, that is one of the more appreciated things. So thank you. The roads are looking really good, except for the yellow lines.
I'll add something to that. I do have line painting planned for almost every single road.
Colin, you stole my thunder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
So yeah, expect later this season, probably late summer, pretty much all major side roads will receive renewed paint.
Much appreciated. Sunshine Coast Tourism. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for all the updates. It's really helpful to be informed. Not much to add here other than watching ferries very closely. I am on the Ferry Advisory Committee as well. And we do have a Sunshine Coast Tourism Industry Forum on Tuesday, July 22nd. If you aren't aware, it'd be great if any of y'all want to join us at 10 a.m. Thanks very much.
I'll be there.
Sorry, Wednesday, July 22nd?
Yes. Sorry, thanks.
Okay. Dean, you have anything?
Nothing further for me.
Thank you. Ian Hall?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay. RCMP?
Thank you, Chair. I thank you for the opportunity, and I hope that we can continue working with Moti, which I'm sure we will, to assist the community. So just want to thank everyone for their time.
Thank you. Director Pratt.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to Michael Braun for meeting with residents from my citizens, or from the Half Moon Bay Citizens Association and Community Associations. We had a great conversation, was it only last week? And found out about that lovely line painting. It's fantastic. I was actually going to comment on the paving in West Sechelt. There was an electronic sign up for about 3 weeks that I was very appreciative of, because it said the dates and everything on it for when the paving was going to be happening. So, I've been watching that for a while. So I was actually really appreciative for the notification that was already there for all of that happening. And thank you for everything.
So what you're saying is the residents who were driving there never saw it?
They didn't see it. It was both ways. So,
perfect.
Yeah, no, it's been there. It was there at least 3 weeks ahead of, probably 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time, saying July 9th to 17th or July 6th to 17th, there would be resurfacing between Lawson and Derby. I know.
Okay, I will respond and tell them.
Please do. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Braun.
Unmute. There we go. Yeah, you know, it's one of those ones where if I had a nickel for every time somebody said they weren't informed, but there was actually signs out there, I'd be able to retire. Apologies for showing up late. I did have a 3 o'clock meeting that I had to be a part of. So, but other than that, I have nothing else to add.
Thank you. I'm going to be happy about lines. Okay, SD 46.
Okay, so just briefly, we had a presentation with Leanne Carley from Vancouver Coastal Health at our operations committee meeting in on June 23rd, and she just did a great presentation on the transportation strategies for our young people in School District 46. And you know, there's some great ideas going around. We're kind of on hold right now, as you all know, and so this is going to be into the future. I know that a lot of you were involved in the report and the recommendations, and so it's great to try to streamline approaches for encouraging our young people to be active in their transportation to and from school, and to take a look at the environment while we do that, and to lessen the time for them to get to and from, and also touch on the carbon footprint, and so that each child is not jumping in a vehicle and being chauffeured to school, but some really innovative and great ideas to safely see them to and from. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and we'll see what happens in September. Thanks.
Thank you. SCRD infrastructure and transit, I guess.
Thank you. Nothing to add. We're good.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, but I've forgotten who 1-604-886-2242 is.
BC Ferries.
Oh, right. BC Ferries.
Oh,
Last.
I don't recognize, but nothing else. Thank you, everyone.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And in our gallery, are there questions from the gallery? If you have a question, raise hand, and then we'll move you into the room, Zoom room. I am not seeing any raised hands at the moment. Mr. Hiltz.
Just if Sue could reiterate what the name of the report was that you were, and who wrote that?
Yeah, it was Leanne Carley from Vancouver Coastal Health, and it was the transportation strategies that she was speaking about on that day, and some of the great ideas and things that they have come to find in that study.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much for attending. It's been an eventful few months.
Motion to adjourn?
I would look for a motion to adjourn. Oh, look at all those hands. Brilliant. Everybody in favor? We're all in favor. Brilliant. Thank you so much. We'll see you again in 3 months, except for the rest of the SCRD people. And we will see you, I think, at 4:30 to resume our infrastructure meeting.